Tucker Carlson clashes with Madison Flynn from the Wiyot Tribal Council in a heated debate over the removal of President William McKinley's statue. She claims it stands on a site tied to Native American suffering, while Tucker questions her historical knowledge and motives. Brian from Petal jumps in, calling out what he sees as the left's misplaced outrage, exposing what he believes is an emotional argument rooted in confusion, not facts. Don't miss this fiery showdown that tackles history, activism, and the battle over public memory.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Tucker Carlson absolutely nails it when this woke activist tries to take down a historical statue.
Madison Flynn is a member of the Wiyot Tribal Council in California, and she joins us tonight. Madison, thanks for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's pronounced Wiyot.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Well, I stand corrected and informed. So, of all the statues to prominent Americans, why does this statue offend the...
In this segment from a show hosted by someone named Brian, a controversy unfolds over the presence of a statue of President William McKinley located in Arcata, California, which Madison Flynn, a representative of the Wiyot, pronounced Wiyot Tribal Council.
It offends the Wiyot people because the representation of that era. I don't know if you're familiar with the Wiyot history, but they were the ancestral people of the Arcata territory, where the McKinley statue is at, and they had a massacre that wiped out majority of the Wiyot people during 1860. So, I mean, and then McKinley also, although he was never there in Humboldt County, his actions that he did while as president severely affected the Native Americans throughout the United States.
Argues is offensive due to the statue's placement on what was once a site of Native American human trafficking and the historical trauma tied to the massacre of the Wiyot people in 1860. Madison claims that while McKinley himself was not...
Where did Tucker find this person? The fact that this lady does not know anything about history. The closest thing that McKinley did to affect Native Americans was signing into law the Curtis Act. And that law had a lot of unintended consequences, and they thought at the time that this would actually benefit Native Americans, and it turns out it didn't. The town that they're talking about here actually lists this on a website and a post that they made, and this lady isn't even smart enough to quote that.
Not directly involved in the massacre or the area, his presidency symbolizes a broader legacy of harm to Native Americans, especially through laws like the Curtis Act, which, although intended to integrate Native populations into American society, resulted in the loss of tribal governance and land. Unintended consequences that severely damaged...
So in the 1860s, McKinley, of course, was fighting slavery as a member of the Union Army for 3.5 years. That's, I think we both agree, a virtuous thing. He was president for a term in a very short period. What did he do specifically to hurt the Wiyot tribe?
That's the thing. He doesn't have any significance to
Native communities. Tucker Carlson, the host conducting the interview, dismisses her arguments as incoherent and historically inaccurate, emphasizing that McKinley was a Union soldier who fought against slavery and that the statue itself does not commemorate anything directly related to atrocities against the Wiyot. He ridicules her for not knowing the history well and shifts the conversation to question the usefulness of removing historical monuments.
But where the statue is at is the issue. The statue where he is located at in the Arcata Plaza was used as an auctioning block for Native Americans, especially for Native American youth or Wiyot youth. And yeah, it was more like a human trafficking era.
Well, that's awful. I mean, I'm not for that, but that didn't happen, obviously, during the time that he was president, because there was no slavery, of course, by his presidency, partly because of the actions that he took as a Union soldier. So just having anything that, I mean, this is so mindless, it's hard to track. I want to take this seriously. I mean, your name, for example, is Madison. Madison owned slaves.
At all, suggesting that preserving such statues could serve as powerful reminders of the past rather than attempts to erase it. Brian, the commentator, sides with Carlson and argues that activists like Madison misdirect their anger, focusing on symbolic gestures rather than substantive improvements for Native communities, such as addressing poverty. He insists that removing the statue does not change history, but...
Well, you should ask my parents about my name.
Well, I don't know. You can change it if you... I mean, look, I like your name. I'm not attacking your name in any way. I'm merely saying that there are certain historical figures whose presence would be offensive. I get it. I'm not discounting the idea of it.
Reflects a failure to confront it meaningfully. The broader issue presented is the clash between historical memory and present-day activism, where some view statue removal as reckoning with injustice, while others see it as a misguided erasure. The implied solution, though not judicial but societal, is a call for deeper engagement with history, preserving controversial symbols as tools for reflection and empowerment rather than destruction, ultimately framing the debate as one over whether we choose to be victims of the past or use it as a foundation for strength and future growth.
Giving you time on TV to explain what specifically about this guy warrants tearing down his statue on behalf of a people, half of whom live below the poverty line. There are a lot of problems you could be dealing with. This doesn't seem directly related to any of them. It seems like a massive waste of time when you could be improving the lives of the WIAT community, but you're not.
So what Tucker is exposing is something that's completely endemic to the leftist movements that are sweeping across this country right now. And the attempt to take down a statue of William McKinley, on its face, I actually understand it. If you were to look at it from a leftist perspective, you'd understand that the Curtis Law that was signed under his administration by him had some very bad consequences. This bill was designed to help Native Americans, and it didn't help them at all. But what she brings up in this video has nothing to do with that law. And ironically enough, the town in question actually wrote a statement about this and stated that as one of the bigger reasons why they wanted to move the statue. What she brings up, however, is incredibly stupid. She brings up the location of the statue, of which there was basically a slave market there, for lack of a better term. And if you have an issue with the location in history, why are you moving the statue? Because the reality is, people like this can't fully think properly. They're mad at the wrong thing. They're mad at history. There's a much better way to look at these sort of things. If you were to be, and I love this example, if you were a black family posing in front of a Confederate statue with a reminder of, we beat you, that is a much healthier statement of history than what this lady's trying to do. This lady is trying to whitewash it, polish it, say this never happened, it's only a bad memory. When the reality is this, you can either be chained to history, be a slave to history, or you can move forward in more power and in more success. And this lady clearly is chained to her own history. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment of Politbrawl. Catch you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until then, y'all have a good one.